As I lay in the darkness, the smell of burning paper filled my nostrils. That is how I discovered my sister had betrayed me. I remembered the flames engulfing our family's business, the sound of shattering glass, and the feeling of my world crumbling. But how did I end up here, back in my 18-year-old body, with the man who killed me smiling beside me? The memories of my death are hazy, but one thing is clear: I have been given a second chance, a chance to rewrite my fate and prevent the tragedy that befell me. But why am I back, and how can I stop the inevitable? The questions swirled in my head like a vortex, pulling me down into the depths of my own confusion. I tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot through my head, forcing me back onto the pillow. As I struggled to catch my breath, the man beside me spoke, his voice low and menacing. "Welcome back, Lynn. You've been gone for a long time." I tried to respond, but my voice was barely a whisper. The man's smile grew wider, and he leaned in closer, his breath cold against my ear. "You don't remember me, do you?" I shook my head, trying to clear the fog from my mind. But as I looked into his eyes, a spark of recognition ignited within me. This was the man who had destroyed my life, the man who had killed me. And now, he was sitting beside me, smiling, as if we were old friends. The contradiction was suffocating, and I felt my heart racing with a mix of fear and anger. I knew then that I had to be careful, that I had to play along until I could uncover the truth behind my rebirth and the man's intentions. But as I lay there, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was trapped in a nightmare, with no escape in sight. As I regained my strength, the man, who introduced himself as my husband, Min, told me that I had been in a coma for 12 years. He explained that our family's business had been struggling, and I had been working tirelessly to save it. But one fateful night, a fire broke out, and I was severely injured. The doctors had given up hope, but Min had refused to let me go. He had spent years by my side, caring for me, and waiting for me to wake up. But as he spoke, I noticed a hint of sadness in his eyes, a deep-seated sorrow that seemed to linger beneath the surface. I couldn't help but wonder what had really happened during those 12 years, and what secrets Min was hiding. As we talked, I realized that my memories were hazy, and I couldn't recall much of my life before the coma. But as I looked around the penthouse, I saw glimpses of a life I didn't remember: the expensive furniture, the stunning view of the city skyline, and the elegant decorations. It was as if I had been living a life I didn't know, a life that was now a mystery to me. I felt a surge of determination, a desire to uncover the truth about my past, and to understand the man who claimed to be my husband. But as I turned to Min, I saw a flicker of fear in his eyes, a fear that seemed to be hiding something. And I knew then that I had to tread carefully, that I had to navigate this new reality with caution, lest I uncover secrets that were meant to remain hidden. As the days passed, I grew stronger, and my memories began to return. I remembered fragments of my life before the coma, my family, my friends, and my business. But there were gaps, large gaps, that I couldn't fill. And every time I asked Min about my past, He would change the subject or tell me that I was getting tired and needed to rest. I began to feel like a prisoner in my own home, trapped in a world that was not mine. One day, while Min was out, I decided to explore the penthouse. I wandered from room to room, searching for clues about my past. And then, I stumbled upon a door that was locked. I found a key hidden in a vase, and as I unlocked the door, I discovered a room filled with documents and photographs. The documents were about our family's business, and the photographs were of me and Min, but there were also pictures of other people I didn't recognize. I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized that Min had been hiding something from me, something big. And then, I heard a noise behind me. I turned to see Min standing in the doorway, his eyes blazing with anger. "What are you doing, Lin?" he asked, his voice low and menacing. I tried to explain, but he cut me off. "You don't remember, do you?" he said, his eyes glinting with a mixture of sadness and fear. "You don't remember what happened, do you?" I shook my head, feeling a sense of trepidation. And then, Min told me the truth about my death, and the truth about my rebirth. But as he spoke, I realized that there was more to the story, more that he was not telling me. And I knew then that I had to keep digging, to keep searching for the truth, no matter how dangerous it might be. Min told me that I had been killed in the fire, but that he had made a deal with a mysterious organization to bring me back to life. He said that they had the technology to revive people, but at a cost that I was still paying. As he spoke, I felt a sense of horror, a sense of betrayal. I couldn't believe that Min had made a deal with strangers, without my consent, without my knowledge. And then, I remembered the words of the man who had killed me. "You don't remember me, do you?" I realized that Min was not my husband, but my killer. He had been playing a role that he had perfected over the years. I felt a wave of anger, a desire for revenge. But as I looked at Min, I saw something in his eyes, a glimmer of sadness, a glimmer of regret. And I knew then that there was more to the story, more that I had to uncover. I decided to play along, to pretend that I still didn't remember. And as we talked, I realized that Min was not the only one who had secrets. The organization that had brought me back to life was still out there, watching us, waiting for us to make a move. And I knew then that I had to be careful, that I had to navigate this complex web of deceit and betrayal. But as I looked out the window, I saw the city skyline, and I felt a sense of determination. I was going to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. And I was going to make sure that justice was served, no matter the cost. As I stood there, looking out at the city, I realized that I had been given a second chance. A chance to rewrite my fate, to prevent the tragedy that had befallen me. And I knew then that I had to use this chance wisely, to make the most of it. I turned to Min, and I saw the fear in his eyes. But I also saw something else, a glimmer of hope. And I knew then that I had to make a choice. I could choose to seek revenge, to punish Min for what he had done. Or I could choose to forgive, to move on and start anew. As I stood there, weighing my options, I realized that forgiveness was the harder choice. But it was also the right one. I took a deep breath, and I let go of my anger. I let go of my desire for revenge. And I chose to forgive. As I did, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I felt a sense of peace, a sense of closure. And I knew then that I had made the right decision. I had chosen to forgive, to move on, and to start anew. And as I looked out at the city, I knew that I was ready for whatever came next. I was ready to face the future, to face the challenges that lay ahead. And I was ready to make the most of my second chance.